What if? You might be saying, well, what do you mean, what if? There's lots of what if questions. Well, what if what? Well, I'm going to answer that question, but first, let me introduce myself. I'm Non-Monogamous Mark, and I'm the co-founder of Ethical and Consensual Non-Monogamous Association. You see, for 25 years, I was in a monogamous marriage where I'd gotten married as a virgin. And actually, I was in a monogamous marriage for 33 years. But the first 25 years, after getting married as a virgin and being faithful, where I hadn't had sex with any other person in the world. And for 25 years, I was in a closed monogamous marriage, and it was miserable sexually. One day, then I started, because we had been through all kinds of therapy and counselors and read books and we'd done all kinds of things because I thought there was something wrong with me. I just couldn't turn my wife on. My wife thought there was something wrong with her. She was just broken and couldn't get turned on. We'd worked on our problem for 25 years. You see, oftentimes that's what our problems are designed to do. Our problems are designed to help to guide us to start asking the what-if questions. And it took me a long time, but after 25 years, I started asking the what-if questions. Yeah, we were locked in religion, going to church several times a week and things of that nature, But, I decided to start asking the what-if questions. And one of the things I thought about then is, well, what if I had sex with someone else and my wife had sex with someone else, and we might find that we really like sex with other people? And so, of course, I approached my wife on that, and that didn't go over really well at first, but we talked about it. It took about 2 years for us to work through the kind of iron out the wrinkles, you might say. And after 2 years, then we opened our marriage. But it all started out by me, thinking in my own mind, thinking about what if. You see, I talk a lot about that we are all creators. We're creators of our own lives. The thing is, most of us don't create our life. Instead, we leave it to, other people. We leave our lives to default. We leave our lives to a lot of things that we're basically just saying, here, go ahead and take over. Instead of taking charge of your own life and creating your own life and starting to be intentional about your life. And that's what I started to do when I started asking what-if questions. And after 27 years of marriage, we opened our marriage, and we had 6 years of an open marriage that was wonderful. And I started to find out, hey, I am good at sex. I'm not at all lousy at it. And I found out that other women do enjoy sex. But the point is here, I want to bring out is that make sure you're asking what-if questions in your own life. You realize there are Harvard-trained people today, Harvard-educated people, that they focus their education on this question, what if? And then they turn that into consultancy practices, and they go out and they consult with corporations, because it's a big deal where corporations understand, they've finally learned that in order to really create, and that's what businesses do, they create products or they create services. In order to create, you first have to innovate. And before you can innovate, you have to start asking questions like what-if questions. But the problem is that from a kid, we are told, don't ask so many questions. And you find that the number of questions from like age 5 to age 18 goes from a couple hundred questions a day down to a couple questions a day. And by the time that we're adults, we really ask maybe a couple questions a week. And so we're not very innovative that way. But see, I found myself, by listening to kids, where, how kids often, they'll say, well, what if this and what if that? Well, by listening to kids, I can find out what the environment is that they're in, that they're living in, they're raised in, or they're at school or at home, because that environment will be a reflection of those what-if questions. If those what-if questions are about, well, what if we get sick, or what if we die, or what if we, if it's about disaster and things of that nature, things that are negative or scary, and those kinds of what-if questions, that is a reflection of that environment that child is in. Instead, if I find a child that is asking, well, what if we can go to Mars and live on Mars? What if we can do this? And what if we can do that? You see, then I find that's a child that is in a home that is a very positive-minded household. And corporations have learned, as I mentioned a moment ago, that asking the simple questions of what if creates a whole new atmosphere and environment in their companies of innovation and starting to get people thinking about what if. And so I want to pass this along to you. Think more about, in your own life, what if? Ask yourself what if questions. There's a company called the Board of Innovation, and I'm going to put a link to this video in the description of this video. I'll put a link to them in this description. And the Board of Innovation, they are a very interesting company, and I'll put a link to their 30 questions. They asked, this is actually a couple years ago, they asked 30 questions, which are really very fascinating questions. And so I hope you'll take and you'll go look at those 30 questions. And yes, they're in a business environment, but when you go and you look at those questions, even being in a business environment, I hope that they'll get your own wheels turning. And you'll be able to start then to ask yourself what if questions. What if I could make an extra $1,000 a month? What if I could make an extra $20,000 a month? What if I could go on vacation for 5 weeks this year instead of 1 or 2 weeks? What if I could do business on the internet so that I could travel more and take my business wherever I go? You see, I started asking what if questions when I got to a place in my life where I needed to redesign my life and recreate my life. And that's what I did. As I started asking these what if questions, and I then created a design that I designed to have my life live by. And now I'm in the process of actually creating that life. And it's a life that is designed by me, non-monogamous Mark, not someone else. And so take charge of your own life. But when you're asking what if questions, keep them positive and keep them future oriented. And that keeps you moving into the future, not into the past. A couple days ago, I did a video on limitless possibilities. You see, and if you don't have a mindset, and that's what that video talked about, the mindset of limitless possibilities. And if you don't have a mindset of limitless possibilities, then to ask a what if question could be a ridiculous thing to do. But when you start to have a mindset of limitless possibilities, where you have an abundant mindset instead of a limited mindset, then you start asking what if questions, and then you start to create a life for yourself, which can become a dream life. So thanks a lot. I hope you enjoyed this what if segment, and if you want to know more about ECNM lifestyles or want to follow me, Non-Monogamous Mark, then go ahead and click on that link, and there will be 2 links then in the description, but one will be taking you to ECNMlifestyles.com, and the other will take you to the Board of Innovation, where there are 30 what if questions. So thanks a lot. Enjoy your evening or day.